Hey girl, welcome back to another episode of Rock That Fitness with Anna Rockstar. Today I'm going to be talking about a topic that is pretty just cut and dry, but reminders I think that we always need to kind of come back to the basics when it comes to I don't know, the science behind calories and energy expenditure. So I am actually going to be talking about, I'm going to pretty much do a rundown on what it means. What is, our TDEE? What does that stand for? Total daily energy expenditure. And I'm going to talk about all of the things that actually impact our calorie expenditure. So let's get into it. All right. So, again, welcome back. Girl, I just want to thank you so much. Thank you for continuing to listen to our podcast, for being here every week. I cannot thank you enough for your support, and I really appreciate it. If you would take a second, I would really appreciate if you do me a favor and leave us a review, a rating. 5 stars is always welcome, of course. Would love that. But above all, thank you so much for listening. And I've had people ask me, they are like, I want to share, but I don't know how to do a review. I don't know how to do a rating or whatever. That's okay. If you send me a message in my messenger, in Facebook, or messages in Instagram, I can share that. And that's also a great thing. Or if you want to have a shout out, then why don't you just like screenshot either this YouTube, by the way, I'm on YouTube, screenshot the YouTube episode that you're watching, or screenshot the podcast graphic and share it on your Instagram story, and tell us how the podcast is helping you, impacting you, what you like about an episode or whatever. I'd love to shout you out. So, speaking of which, by the way, let me just take a second here to say, if you're on YouTube, look at my new shirt. Rockstar Vibes is our summer line. Loving it. We have tees. Well, we all of us who already ordered, we got our tees and our tanks, different colors, Rockstar Vibes. If you're not watching the YouTube video, it says Rockstar Vibes at the top, and it's got this really pretty logo with the Rock That Fitness logo, and then in the background you got palm trees with the sun. It is like so cool. We had this logo made up for our Rockstar Retreat 2024, and we loved it so much. We said, let's do a summer line of this logo. So I love it. I have a feeling it's going to come back out in the Rockstar store because people are loving this logo. So anyway, if you're watching on YouTube, here it is. And if you haven't been watching on YouTube and you want to, I want you to know that it's official. I'm actually broadcasting our podcast on YouTube now. So it's just one of those things. It's new, it's different. I'm not used to watching a camera, but we've been doing this for several weeks now, so I'm getting used to it. It still isn't like totally comfortable, but yeah, we're getting used to it. I do want to shout out to one of our listeners, who has been so adamantly shouting out about our podcast episode. And she's also been sharing a lot on Instagram and Facebook. And I'm excited. I just want to shout out to Valerie Turk. I hope I said her last name right. Valerie, you're amazing. You're awesome. Thank you so much for sharing. Thank you. Valerie is actually in our Rock That Fitness 6-week challenge right now, and she's a shining star. She is definitely doing the things, and I'm excited for her and her excitement. So Valerie, thank you for listening, and thank you for shouting out. You are you're the shining spotlight for our listeners of the podcast right now. So if you want to shout out, please share the podcast out there on stories and Instagram, and I would love to shout you out. So I just appreciate, there's so many things that we can give away, but nothing can ever replace that time. So I really appreciate that you're paying with time, your time to listen, and it means a lot. So I don't know what inspired me. Let's get into this topic. I'm not really sure what necessarily inspired me to talk about TDEE today, total daily energy expenditure, except that, we have a lot of women right now that are starting out their fitness journey and they're doing calorie deficit. And I know that when people get excited to start something new, they want to go all in and they want to do a lot of things really fast all at once. And I love the enthusiasm. I love the excitement. But I also want us to come into it knowing some things that I think are very important that can help us just kind of, embrace the science behind it and embrace just taking our time, not taking our time, but like just embracing that steady really wins the race, right? Slow and steady really wins the race, not, quick fix and do this really fast and do as much as you can in one day, and all of these things. So that's kind of why I wanted to talk about energy expenditure. And let me just take a little side note here and give you an update. When I'm recording this today, my knee, if you've been following me, I've been having some difficulty with my knee. And some days it's great. Some days it's not bothering me very much, and some days it is. And I've been doing dry needling. I've been doing these peptide injections subcutaneously. I've been icing it. I have been taking ibuprofen from time to time. Have not been running, so I've been very careful. No high impact, except for that one day I did some intervals, and yeah, my knee was not happy about that. But I think this is kind of, and so I don't know. I think I may be going ahead and let's go get some imaging because it's been a long time. I've done all these things, and I'm not sure. I'm just not sure what's going on here. I don't know. And who knows? Maybe I am still being rough on it, and I don't even know. So may as well go take a look, go get some imaging, seeing what's going on. Country boys like, you don't need imaging. You just need to take care of it. But I have been taking care of it. It cracks me up. Anyway, yeah, I've been taking care of it. So the thing is, I guess this is one of my inspirations is my knee, because I'm thinking to myself, we have control over some things and some things we don't have control over, but it's good to know what we do have control over, in terms of our bodies expending energy, expending calories. So what I want to do is I first just want to talk about some key factors. I'm going to just kind of do a rundown of some key factors that impact our calorie expenditure, how our body burns calories, how our body spends calories being a unit of energy, right? So there's basically, I have here 12 or so, 13 or so things that impact the way that our body burns energy. And it's very important to know this, because I think a lot of people kind of think in their mind like calories are just calories in and calories out. That's it. And it's the same for everybody. And it's not. And there's a lot of factors involved. So this is the reason I wanted to get into this, so you can know that there's a lot of other factors involved, and you got to know that there's a lot. So let's go ahead and get into it. These are not in any particular order. So basically, the first one is that we need to understand that, and I've said this before, so you guys know once is never. Calorie deficit just means that your body is getting fewer calories than it needs to maintain its current weight. Okay, current status as far as mass. And then you also need to, and why do you need to know that? Because if you're getting fewer calories, that's how you're going to be in a calorie deficit. If you are taking in the same amount of calories as your body is expending, then you're going to be in maintenance. And if you are taking in more calories, more energy into your body than your body is able to burn, to expend, then now you're going to be gaining excess mass, excess weight on your body, fat. Okay, so knowing that, know your baseline calorie needs. And I am going to talk a little bit about that in a little while. That's basically your BMR, which is your basal metabolic rate. And so I'll talk about that. Know that that also impacts your calories because you don't have control over your basal metabolic rate. That's basically what your body burns, just being alive. That's it, breathing, existing while you're sleeping. All right. Let's see here. Focusing your nutrient density, what the foods that you eat, the things that you put in your body, that also plays a role. So whether you're having nutrient dense foods that provide essential vitamins and minerals that support your overall being and preventing deficiencies in your body, these things matter. So one person who eats more nutrient dense foods or foods that take longer to digest is going to burn more calories. I'm going to talk about that a little bit later too. So that is an impact that will impact how your body burns calories. Um, Also, of course, your activity level, your energy level, and your whether you're putting what your body does when your body does it. Because you see, if the more mass you're carrying, your body, right, the more mass a body has, the more calories it's going to expend just existing. Same thing that body, the more mass it has, the more calories it's going to burn when it's doing activity and physical activity. All right. So actually, I'm not going to be doing 13 of these. I think there's probably just a handful. I'm not even going to count these. I don't want to count them because I'm skipping a few here that I feel like they're kind of redundant that I wrote down. Um, let's see here. Adherence to your calorie, the foods that, let me back up. Managing your hunger, right? This is going to also impact how your body is burning calories because if you are not managing, if you're not hungry and you're eating calories, again, you're going to be in a calorie surplus. That's going to impact you and your expenditure. Um, and let's also consider some like psychological factors, long term success. So if you're in a deficit and it feels like it's sustainable, that's key to long term success and adherence. So these kind of are related to your calorie deficit and you know, preventing yourself from being in a yo-yo dieting, at a cycle of yo-yo dieting. All right, let's see what else here. What else is going to impact it? Oh, okay. Why? Let's see. Why plant? Okay, so I already talked about lifestyle. Okay, now let's talk again. Let's keep on going on here. Basal metabolic rate. I talked about that. Your activity level and the thermic effect of food. I talked about that. But that, you know, there's something to know about this because I'm going to talk about protein all the time. Protein has the highest thermic effect. Okay. And what does that mean? That means that it is the one macro that is takes your body the longest to break down. So you're burning calories, you're burning energy when you're breaking down that protein. So protein has the highest thermic effect, and then followed by carbohydrates and then fats. Another thing that impacts your calorie expenditure is your age. Your calorie expenditure is generally going to decrease with age due to what? To the loss of muscle, which we talk about a lot in RTF and around here because as you're aging, you're losing muscle mass, which what is that going to do? It's going to decrease your metabolism. So you're not going to be expending as many calories because of that. Your sex, your gender, basically is what I'm trying to say. Men are typically going to have a higher calorie expenditure than women, and that also has to do with a higher proportion of muscle mass. And like I said, muscle mass tissue burns more calories at rest compared to fat tissue. So individuals who have more muscle mass on their body are going to expend more calories simply at rest. I hope that sinks in, girl, because this was one of my big things. This was one of the things that really inspired me in the beginning of my strength training journey to continue strength training and building muscle because I knew that it was going to help me burn more calories just at rest and increase my metabolism that way. So, hormones such as your thyroid hormone, your insulin, cortisol, these things can also impact your metabolism and how your body processes calories and your calorie expenditure. Because imbalances can either increase or decrease your calorie burn. And then one of our favorites that we have no control over, and that is genetics. Genetics can affect your metabolism. There's no doubt about it. There's no running away from that. So, how many calories you can burn at rest and during your activities is definitely impacted by your genetics. You can't change that. But there are other things that you can change, which is nice, right? It kind of gives us a little peace of mind that there are things we can change, but you can't change this one. Body size and composition, just talked about that one as well. And then there are environmental factors, believe it or not. So if you're living in extreme cold weather and your body is shivering, guess what's happening when your body is shivering, not shriveling, shivering and trying to stay warm? Your body is burning calories in that way. Or extreme heat and your body is working hard to maintain a stable internal temperature, and that is also going to be burning calories. So, um, and then of course your health status, right? So conditions such as hypothyroidism, hyperthyroidism that can increase your calorie expenditure. And and then there's the other side of that, the hypothyroidism that can decrease your energy expenditure, your calorie expenditure. And then sleep. Believe it or not, and I know I've spoken about this before, but sleep is definitely going to negatively impact your calorie expenditure by disrupting your hormones, your hormone balance. And so what that does, when you're not getting enough sleep, then you're not going to have very much energy. You're not going to be moving around as much. So you're not going to be exerting many calories. You're not going to be burning many calories. You're going to be reducing your physical activity level. And also remember that when you're getting poor sleep, you're not getting optimal sleep, you're also now then increasing cravings especially for high calorie foods, because your body's like, give me some energy, instant energy. It wants that quick fix of sugar for some energy. So sleep, whether you're getting enough sleep, I shouldn't even say optimal sleep, is going to impact your calorie burn big time, big time. Remember that, because it throws off your hormones. It's a huge thing there. And it's also, like I said, going to keep you slow going, not moving around much. And then chronic stress can definitely, and I'm not going to get into the details of this, but it will definitely alter your hormone levels and like the cortisol levels, which can either increase or decrease your calorie expenditure. And it can influence the storage of energy in your body, which results in fat. So those are the main things. And so, like I said, I'm not going to make this episode very long, but this next part is the key to this whole message that I'm here to share with you today about energy expenditure, about your TDEE. Who remembers what that stands for? TDEE stands for your total daily energy expenditure. One of those things that you got to know. And now I'm going to break it down. I'm going to talk about what that is. It's basically the primary ways that your body burns calories. Your total daily energy expenditure is made up of your basal metabolic rate, your physical activity, and the thermic effect of food. Those are basically it. And I'm going to break them down in percentages. Why am I going to break down to the TDEE, total daily energy expenditure, in percentages? Because what I want you to see is that most of the calories you burn in a 24-hour period of time is your basal metabolic rate. That's basically how many calories your body needs just to live, just to be sitting here breathing. Your heart is pumping, your stomach is doing its thing, your lungs are breathing. All of these things are happening, and it's taking energy. It's taking calories, and that makes up the bulk of the percentage of calories that your body burns every day. Basal metabolic rate, your BMR, the percentage of total calories burned, is anywhere from 60 to 75% of all your calories that you burn in a given 24 hours. Okay. The energy that your body needs to perform all the essential functions at rest: breathing, circulation, cell production, all the things. And then physical activity. Physical activity burns 15 to 30%. That's it. Now, this is the key. Like, this is why I want you to just think about this when people try to exercise their way into losing fat or losing weight, because it's a small percentage. And so the part we don't have control over, right, is that you have a basal metabolic rate, which burns just at rest 60 to 70% of the most of your calories. And that includes, like, that's just the way your body is made and all the things that involve that, like your genetics, your gender, your size, your age, these kind of things are what make up your personal basal metabolic rate. And so thinking of that, physical activity is 15 to 30%. And within that, it could be inside of that physical activity. It's not just exercise, it's also what's called NEAT. And NEAT stands for non exercise activity thermogenesis, which could be anywhere between 10 to 15%, which actually is a lot if you haven't been including much of it. And I'm going to talk a little bit about that because that has to do with what we're doing that doesn't have to do with exercise. It's just our everyday fidgeting, walking, house chores, moving around. That's not deliberate exercise. Okay. And then the thermic effect of food can be anywhere. This is the next one, the third one. Thermic effect of food, which is 5 to 10% of what your body is burning in calories. The energy required to digest your food, to absorb your food, to metabolize and process your food that you eat. That's 5 to 10%. It's kind of cool to know though, right? Because you can actually, if it's 5% up to 10% of the burn that your body is doing on calories, I mean, making sure you get plenty of protein, that alone is going to give you the higher end of that percentage, which is nice to know. All right. So the whole point here is I think that we need to know, we don't have control over the basal metabolic rate. We don't have a lot of control over how many calories our body burns during exercise or just while we're moving. We do have control whether or not we exercise or whether or not we move. We do have that kind of control, and we can increase that, right? But the thing that we do have control over is how many calories we are eating, how many calories we're actually putting into our body with the foods that we eat. We have control over that. But do you see that we don't have a lot of control over those the big portion of that, which is your metabolic rate. So because of that, we need to take advantage of the things that we do have control over, and that is the calories that we consume. And this is why I will die on this hill about the importance of knowing your calories and understanding your calories, like knowing how many calories your body is eating, how many calories you're taking in on average daily. And that's the part that you have control over. You don't know how many calories your body is burning in exercise, but you can increase. So the way that I like to look at this, if you are working on your calorie deficit, or you are in a mini cut or whatever, you're in a parameter of time right now where you're working on your calorie deficit, keep on tracking your calories so you know what's going on, so you know what your average calories is over a significant period of time, so you actually know the data, okay? And then you know that part, but you don't know how many calories your body burns. This is the thing why, I'm like, don't worry about these fitness trackers telling you how many calories you burn. I cannot tell you how many people I've seen time and time again. They put out, they do a workout, and they're like, wow, I burned 500 calories. I burned 1,000 calories. Let's go have beer and pizza. And they're like, if they're trying to lose fat, they're basically just replacing the calories that they burned. So they're never in a calorie deficit. I mean, I've seen this over and over and over. They're rewarding their exercise or rewarding themselves with food, but they're not getting the benefit of that calorie deficit and that calorie burn because they're just basically replacing it with food, thinking that they're rewarding themselves. Does that make sense? I hope it does. So that's why it's so important to know how many calories are you actually taking in on a daily basis. That's the part you have control over. So if let's just say you're not in a calorie deficit, you're just living your life. If you were to just track all of your food every day, I don't know, for a couple of weeks, and you averaged, and you're not trying to lose weight, nothing like that. But let's say you just did that out of honesty for yourself, just to see, and you were really tracking every morsel of food, everything that you ate, everything that you drank, everything, every day, you averaged it out, and you discover, wow, on average, I'm actually taking in 2,000. I'm just making these numbers up. I'm taking in 2,000 calories a day, just on average. All right. So if you would know that 1,400 of those calories would be your basal metabolic rate. Boom. So then if you know that that is this is the thing that I want to say about that. How many women are going through their life and they're being very careful not to eat more than 14 or 1500 calories a day, but they don't even know how many calories they're consuming on a daily basis on average. They could be, right, eating just at their basal metabolic rate. And then if they're doing physical activity on top of that, they're putting themselves in a severe calorie deficit, which is not good for your health. This is why it's so important to actually know how many calories you're taking in on a daily basis. So that's one point that I want to make, why so many women might just be under eating, because they think they're eating plenty of calories, but 1400 calories for some women is their basal metabolic rate. So where are the calories to help them stay energetic, have stamina, be able to do the things that they need to do with great performance? It's not there. They're not performing well in their workouts. They're not performing well throughout their day. They're tired. They're fatigued because they're barely getting their body's basal metabolic rate, their basic needs of just existing. Man, I hope this makes sense. This is really important. So, what about the woman who actually has excessive weight and she's eating even below that BMR? You see how this can really throw off your hormones and your metabolism. So, it's important to know. So, even if your TDE was $2,000 calories a day, and 1400 calories of that is 70%. And then 30% of that would be 600 calories of physical activity and NEAT, non-exercise activity, right? So that's pretty much my message, is to understand that calories are not, they are not all created equal in terms of like what your body is expending on a daily basis compared to somebody else, and why it's so important to know these things. The person who knows and who has mastered knowing what their body needs on a daily basis is the person that's going to be able to, if they need to shed a few pounds of fat, they're going to be able to do it, keep it off. If they want to maintain freely and enjoy life and enjoy foods and give their body what they're going to know, because they are tracking their calories. It's so funny. It's so interesting to me that people tend to have like this idea kind of against counting calories. And like I always like to say is that it's not a sentence for life. Counting calories, like I really don't think that we should be living our lives tracking calories. I think it's like you can go through it, learn it for a good period of time. I mean, it could take months, it could take years to really get a solid foundation for yourself, especially if you wanted to do phases, right? Where you wanted to like shed some fat and then build some muscle, shed some fat, build some muscle. Different phases in there, what they call, a mini cut and then a bulking phase or whatever. But if you were doing this on a regular basis, you're going to definitely have an idea of your TDEE regularly, total daily energy expenditure. And you're going to be able to master your metabolism and master those things. And that's what we do in RTF. And that is pretty much what I wanted to talk about today. And I really hope that I made it make sense. I really hope so. I want to just say one more thing here about NEAT, because I think this is something that's really neglected. You would be surprised how much it really, aside from the fact that, your body does need to move more. We were meant to move. Our bodies were intended to move. So move more. Get some more NEAT into your day, because NEAT can make up 10 to 15% of your calorie expenditure. So that could be up to 300 calories of NEAT. So get NEAT, girl. You could be burning 300 calories, and don't get all don't get all like, what do you want to, don't get all fixated on your fitness tracker and all that, but just do simple things more often, like parking far away from a building, pacing the floor, doing some house laps when you're doing something on your phone or you're talking on the phone. There's just any number of ways you could be moving more throughout your day. I know whenever, if I know I'm going to be sitting at my desk a lot that day, I'm going to put in a few extra steps that day. Somehow, some way, I will do it either in the morning or maybe throughout my day or even that evening. I do make a point to do that. There's some other ways you can do it. You can take up jump roping or do some hula hooping, any kind of little extra movement can help. It doesn't have to be exercise. In fact, exercise, like I said, it takes up a very small part of your physical activity throughout your week. And so enjoy your exercise, but realize that is not the bulk of how your body actually burns calories. If you think about it, it's really more about what your metabolic rate is. And then it comes down to this NEAT factor as well as the thermic effect of food. Those are big. And I think that when we can really focus in on the thermic effect of food, getting plenty of protein so your body has to work harder to burn it, to break it down, getting those complex carbohydrates, also thermic effect, right? We want to be make our body work, right? We don't want to be putting calories in our body that are just, our body doesn't have to work hard to break down. Simple sugars, alcohol, those kind of things are just, or even like processed flours and white bread and those kind of things and crackers and all of the processed food, your body doesn't need to work very hard. And so what happens is like you are actually getting more calories because your body is not having to break it down. Well, I get off on a tangent here. Anyway, just to emphasize, let's get some more NEAT into our day. Let's get NEAT. I hope there was I hope there was something good in here for you. Would love to know, was this helpful? Did any of this resonate with you in terms of your own personal calorie expenditure, your TDEE, total daily energy expenditure? Now, you can't go away from this podcast episode and not know what TDEE stands for or what BMR stands for, basal metabolic rate, or TEF, your thermic effect of food. So get out there and get NEAT, girl. Thank you so much for hanging out with me on this episode today. Just want to wish you well wherever you're at in your calories, wherever you are in your fitness journey, your health journey. Just stay strong and rock on.